Hello, welcome to another episode of LinkedIn Insights. I'm Geoffrey Klein, where I bring in guests so we can find out some cool stuff. Today is no exception. I got a cool guy in Neill. Neil, why don't we start with something really simple? Who are you and what do you do?
Who are you? What do you do? Hey, Jeff. Nice to be here. Nice to finally do this with you after all this time. My name's Neill, and I'm a marketer. I currently am Group Director of Brand Growth for the Munroe agency, which means I help the agency's brands grow through many different means, very strategy-led, very data-led. A lot of that ends up being digital marketing and social media. But not limited to that, certainly. Part of a great team of professionals that are all about solving problems.
Speaking of problems, so I like to ask people sort of, what's the primary problem you find that your clients have and that you help solve?
Sure. They come in all shapes and sizes, right? A lot of it, though, comes down to how do we inspire action in who we're trying to reach, and whether that's a B2C client, a B2B client, and we have both. Obviously, across industries, that means many different things. But how do we inspire action? It's a very crowded marketplace. There's a lot of noise. So how do you break through? I mean, I think if I had to summarize the problem that we're dealing with in a couple sentences, very hard to do. It would be that.
Yeah, and I talk about, not just competition, but, I talk about infobesity, that there's just so much information that's, coming to us all day, every day. We have to find a way to cut through and not only cut through and get their attention, but then say, hey, we want you to do this. So I love that, because it's great to have content. It's great to have any kind of marketing, but if they don't do the behavior you're looking for them to do, then who cares, kind of. So I love that. In terms of use, I know you work with lots of different industries, kind of across the board, but how would you describe kind of your ideal client?
Yeah, the beauty of the Munroe agency, and this has been the case throughout a lot of my career, is that we can go pretty broad. So, like I said, there is the ideal customer for us is B2B or B2C. We don't discriminate. In terms of categories and industries, we're very varied and open to a lot of different types of business. I'd say the ideal customer client, though, is one who understands they have a problem and knows they need help solving it. And the reason I say that is, and I'm sure you've been in this situation before, where people don't know what they want, they don't know what they need. And sometimes good marketers know how to extrapolate that, know how to do a needs analysis, to ask the right questions to uncover the pain. But it's so much better when they have a pretty good sense of where they're coming from, right? And the rest of it takes care of itself. We may not be ideal for a really brand new startup, but a scrappy startup that has, some revenue or some funding,
well funded,
time, all the way up to Fortune 100. So I know that's it's a casting a wide net, but that's what we do.
Yeah, I always like the term because people say to me, "Oh, do you work in a specific industry?" I say, "No, I'm industry agnostic."
Yeah.
And I think it's is there any, so you said, if they're just brand new, that's not necessarily an ideal client. Sometimes it's easier to identify people who aren't right for you. I would say people who have no money, they're not really my ideal client.
Well, right. I mean, let's just cut to the chase, right? If they don't have a budget, then we really can't help them. Much as we might want to, as much as we want to be nice people, we can't necessarily do that. So yes, it has to start there. But I sort of skipped that one and went right to the next one. But
yeah, Frank, I know you're a big consumer of information, marketing material, blogs, and so can you, books and podcasts, and so can you name a business book or a podcast that you think was worth the time investing in reading or listening to it?
Yeah, there's one, and I don't know if this even qualifies purely as a business book, because there's so many good ones out there, and whether it's Good to Great or whether it's Immutable Laws. I mean, there's just so many. Trust Agents by Chris Brogan, I'm a big fan of, but there's one, and actually, visual aid, Sacred Hoops. The author is Phil Jackson, who, as you probably know, was the coach of the Chicago Bulls and then the Los Angeles Lakers. And it's a book about leadership. So I put it in the business category for that reason. He talks about his journey He talks about his focus on Native American culture and meditation and mindfulness, which is something that's always resonated with me. And some of it's biographical, right? He talks a lot about the 1990s Bulls and everything that they went through, which is interesting in and of itself. He talks about trying to reinvent the offense of these teams, but it was all done through giving his players a clear mind. How do we approach things with a clear mind? How do we be aggressive without being angry or violent? And how do we, get people all moving in the same direction? So from a coaching and leadership perspective, it's a brilliant book. Sacred Hoops. I highly recommend it.
And I think that's right. There are a lot of books that aren't, might not show up exactly in the leadership, in the business category, that are still great books. And I think a lot of the kind of, I'm a big fan of kind of the Simon Sinek and the Malcolm Gladwell, which are social psychology, in that kind of realm, but they apply to business. And that's where I think they've done really well, is being able to do that, is really say, okay, hey, this can help your brand, really excel. Speaking of brands, yeah. Can you name a brand that you kind of really admire?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? Obviously, there's so many. I mean, I think I have pretty much every Apple product that came out since the turn of the century, and that's always been one. And that's, a lot of people are going to say that, right? Starbucks, same
for good reason.
Yeah, here I go with another cliche, but I love what those brands stand for. But the one I've always felt is the strongest brand is Harley Davidson. And I say that because, I mean, yes, they obviously have a track record of success for many, many years and products that people love. But I think they're the only brand, could be wrong on this, that a lot of people will get tattooed on their body. There aren't too many. I mean, you might love Starbucks, but you're probably not getting the crest tattooed on your arm, or the apple. You might, but Harley Davidson, on a per capita basis, if you looked at tattoos, I don't know if this study's ever been done, probably has more tattoos than any other brand. So can't really beat that.
Yeah, and they've got, the live to ride to live is pretty awesome, and just encompasses their personality. I think the other thing about tattoos, which is interesting, is there was one very popular one in Philadelphia when we won the Super Bowl. People were getting the Philly Special tattooed on them, and I remember seeing a lot of that. But yeah, that's probably, I think you're not far off from thinking that's probably one of the most popular inked brands is Harley Davidson. So this is probably the most challenging question I ask people, because I'm asking to single somebody out. But if you can think of, you're a huge networker, and we've been at many different networking events, and both online and offline. We're on LinkedIn. Can you name a LinkedIn connection that you're like, I'm really glad I'm connected to that person for one reason or another?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Because there are so many, right? I mean, this is like, I could name 100 people and we'd be here for the rest of the day. Jeff Klein would be.
No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to say.
Not allowed to say that.
Other than me.
All right, then I'm going to apologize for everybody I'm leaving out,
right?
Because it just, as I thought about this, I'm thinking about there's one guy, Philly guy, you may know him, Kevin French, who I've been connected with for a long time, and that LinkedIn connection led directly to a job at one point. Like I can draw a through line to that. So I gotta appreciate that.
I love that. Yeah, you gotta connect those dots, and if someone helps you there, then that's
Yeah. The other one I will say,
good choice.
And this is one I haven't taken advantage of, or that's not the right word, but I haven't utilized the connection yet, but I plan to. The guy's name is Brian Slagle. He's the founder of Metal Blade Records. He partly discovered Metallica back in the day. And somehow or other, I'm connected with him on LinkedIn. I think I reached out at one point and he accepted. So I don't know. Maybe someday I'll.
Maybe he heard your music. Maybe he heard your music.
Exactly.
Yeah, your band.
I am into music. That's my other life. So maybe Brian Slagle will be a LinkedIn connection I can utilize someday.
Some people are aware, and I think you're aware, that I have a slight obsession with the color purple. So I would like to just throw this in there. Do you have a favorite color?
It's always been through my life blue. I like blue. And if you ask me why,
Mhm.
I have no idea. I don't think I've thought it through.
It's a color you can trust. I mean, it's what
It's
the from
trust.
the
It's a
brand
color.
psychology of colors. It's
Yeah, look,
reliable.
I'm a calm person. I'm a tranquil person. I don't let things ruffle me too often. So I'm not as like red and passionate
Right.
and energetic and fiery. I like blue because it's steady as she goes, and it's So I guess I did just give you a reason, but I just like blue.
I like it, and it does fit your personality. I think from the way you described it. So, as you know, I make animated explainer videos. If we made one for the Munroe group, what would you want people to remember? What takeaway would you want them to have about, the Munroe group more than anything else?
Yeah. Um, our tagline on the website, if you see, is relax, we have the idea. And there's a lot of meaning behind that. It's right. Yes, ideas can move mountains. And yes, the big idea is what inspires that action and what helps solve that problem. And the relaxed part's important too, because this business should be fun. I've said
Mm,
many times, like, we're not putting people into space, right? We're not saving lives on an operating table. I mean, this is supposed to be creative and fun and interesting. So the reason that the Munroe Agency says that is because we're going to solve problems with no drama, right? And
mhm.
we're going to hopefully, more often than not, allow our clients to relax. So I think it's somewhere in there. It's like solving problems without drama. We've got you covered. We've got the idea. We're gonna help you solve this.
I think that's great. I love the idea, fun being, we're marketers. So yeah, we're not, saving lives unless, well, we're working for a particular brand. But generally speaking, we're doing things in business to help drive them forward and help more so they can help other people.
Right.
And I think a good, partner in that is someone who, even in there's chaos out there, they stay calm and they help their people stay calm. And I think that's, um, who wouldn't want to have someone who makes them more relaxed. So I
That's
love
right.
that.
That's right. We got
Um,
you covered. You got enough to worry about. You got enough
exactly.
serious, real things to deal with, as we all do. But we've got you covered.
I love it. Finally, can you please name a favorite animated character from the Pantheon of animation? Is there one that you're like, yeah, I really love? And I'm sure this, again, I always say, people ask me my favorite movie. I'm like, well, I've got about 100 movies in my top 10. So I
Yeah.
understand the challenge, but can you name a beloved animated character?
Yeah. Throughout my life, I've always liked the Roadrunner. And
Super genius.
if you ask me, why, probably as a kid, it's because it just cracked me up. I was just entertained by it,
Beep, beep.
and maybe that's enough. But thinking about it, we can always go deeper. We can always analyze ourselves, right? And when you think about the Roadrunner, what does he do? He runs. He's just going and going and going. He's doing what he loves all the time, over and over again. He's not letting anything stop him. He's the eternal optimist because he's just out there doing his thing. Nothing's going to slow him down. I think that's pretty cool.
I love it. Fantastic. The Roadrunner. I do, I always felt bad for Wile E. Coyote. He, the super genius that just can't get anything right. But
Right? Can't ever win. Yeah.
and I feel like in a different context, those guys would be friends. Like
They just got to get in the same room. They're more alike
yeah,
than not.
someone needs to help, mediate that. Really, it doesn't need to be. They can all go to the barbecue station together and have some
That's right.
good barbecue. Well, Frank, thanks so much. This has been fun.
That's fun, Jeff.
I will
Thanks.
now always think of you as an interesting. The Roadrunner is blue. So,
Oh yeah, never didn't make that connection. There you go.
uh, thanks so much for being here, for
Thanks
sharing
for
your
having me.
insights, and I'll see you on the flip side.